Hey guys, Michael Pizzullo here, psychotherapist in West Hollywood. I want to talk to you about an issue that I see a lot among men and in gay men in particular, which is sexual performance anxiety, erectile dysfunction, anxiety around sex, but mostly focused on performance. So just to give you some background, erectile dysfunction always breaks down into two causes, biological and psychological. Almost always, 90% of the time, it's a psychological issue, especially if you're younger. And if it is a biological issue, it's gonna be, indicative of a medical condition that your doctor can easily identify. So always get a physical first if you're noticing any kind of, erectile dysfunction or a sexual health issue. But once you rule that out and you find that likely it's a mental health thing or a psychological process, that's when therapy can help. And what I find most often is that gay men assume that their sexual performance issues are about sex, and actually they're not. They're about self-esteem. So basically what happens is that anytime you experience some sort of erectile dysfunction, there's two ways to react to it. It can either be, oh man, this is a bummer, I wanted to have a good time, whatever, or it can be shame and doom and gloom and beating yourself up. And if you go down that route, then what you're gonna start to develop is performance anxiety. You're gonna have anxiety before you even begin a sexual experience. And it becomes a vicious cycle, as we know, because anxiety kills libido, kills sexual functioning. So now your fear of not performing is going to lead you to struggle to perform. So it just becomes completely self-sabotaging accidentally. But really what we're seeing here is a self-worth issue, is a performance issue. Because the truth is, if you're confident in yourself and you have a strong sense of self-worth, when you fail in life or when you don't perform well in life, yeah, it's a bummer, it bums you out. I think especially for men, we're told to achieve and accomplish and perform, not just sexually, but in all aspects of life, right? But a confident person, lets it roll off, picks himself back up and tries again and just keeps trying until they figure it out. But if you've already got a low sense of self-worth or insecurities, when you experience any kind of sexual issue, it's going to just feed into this lack of confidence that you already have. And so what I see is that a lot of men that are struggling with sexual health issues or performance anxiety or erectile dysfunction is they're spending so much time thinking about sex and not enough time thinking about their self-worth. And that's almost always where the real issue is. So I would encourage people to not get too distracted by the sexual process and the content and really think about your self-acceptance and think about that the performance anxiety you're experiencing is a symptom of a deeper issue of self-worth. Because the truth is, we're all gonna not measure up sometimes. We're not gonna perform perfectly in all aspects of our life. I think at a certain age we can all admit that, right? But it's gonna be about how can I maintain my self-worth, my dignity, my integrity, and not beat myself up when I feel like I'm not, getting the job done, so to speak. So I'd really encourage men, especially gay men, to think about not getting too lost in the weeds of, should I try different sexual things or should I try, and I think so many men are relying on erectile dysfunction medications, which are fantastic, but they often don't need them. Because the truth is, if you're taking a medication that's increasing blood flow to your penis, but you don't have any biological issue preventing that really, then it's not really treating the correct cause. And what you see now is people are saying, yeah, I'm taking a Cialis or a Viagra, and I'm still having this issue, and then they get even more frustrated with themselves. So truly, if you've exhausted the medical options, if you've tried the medications, it's likely a psychological process. And there could obviously be more to that as well. If you've been through trauma or other things can obviously interfere with sexual functioning. Porn too can cause ED, especially in younger men. You become you train yourself to become aroused by images and videos and visual stimuli versus physical touch that can create erectile dysfunction. It's pretty common these days. So once you rule out those things, though, if you're still experiencing it, then I would say what you're really wrestling with is a self-worth issue that's just manifesting in this realm. So I hope that was useful. What I would say is really to not get too distracted by sex, focus on your self-worth. And also in the moment, if you do, go into a sexual encounter and you do experience performance anxiety, the best thing you can do is find something to distract yourself. get your mind out of the anxiety, because the anxiety is going to grow and build, and again, it's going to completely take your attention away from your arousal and being in the moment and in your body and all the things that are, enjoyable and fueling your libido. So if you do experience performance anxiety, don't quit. Try to distract yourself, try to refocus your attention, and then, try at it again. I think a lot of guys too also quit too soon. The second they experience some sort of issue getting hard or staying hard, they panic and they stop. And I would say that a confident man will take a break, redirect, do something to distract himself or whatever, and then try again. And that's how you build your self-worth, because if you realize that, hey, I can get through this, I can overcome this obstacle, you're not going to develop a shame spiral and start to beat yourself down. So anyway, wanted to make it quick and simple, but just give some simple advice that men can use if they're struggling with performance anxiety or ED or anything like that. I think it's very important that men, we have these conversations honestly, we don't shame ourselves and, none of that, silly high school stuff. So yeah, hope this was useful. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and let me know what you guys think in the comments, what you've done, if you've experienced any kind of, sexual anxiety, which I think everyone has, especially if you're gay. So anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments.